in his book, Singh gives us instructions on how to create our own one-time pad encoded messages, which, providing that you are able to meet the requirements of truly random letters, truly random key streams, and secure distribution of the key streams, will allow you to exchange with your friends unbreakable messages, which obviously should only be used for good, not for evil, just for fun. And because of the lack of security and the impractical nature of the one-time pad, you'd be better off if you really wanted to send secure messages using electronic encryption. But this is just for fun, it's an intellectual challenge. So, one method suggested by Singh is to use plastic letters such as these, which are identical in shape and size. For instance, as from the game Scrabble, and you can get letter sets like this. You can in fact get bags of Scrabble letters off the internet for only a few pounds, such as from eBay. So you don't need to go out and buy a Scrabble set to do this, or Singh suggests using small coins like pennies and using a pen to write the numbers on, and using only one tile for each letter of the alphabet. You simply place these in your in your Scrabble bag or in your otherwise opaque random number generating bag, and just like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, this will allow you to produce random strings of letters, assuming that you properly mix up the letters each time, that you don't introduce a kind of bias by leaving certain letters in the corner of the bag, for instance, or holding on to one by accident as you shake them up, like that. So this allows you to generate essentially random strings of letters, or numbers if you wanted to, cheaply and easily, if not quickly, using a computer. Unless you had a specific random number generator, would not be as secure, because things like Excel, as I say, use pseudo-random numbers which are not truly random. Now, how to copy the random letters which you have generated without introducing errors, and also allowing for the fact that if you use a photocopier or computer, then you can be sure that there is no trace left behind. And for this we use a method to achieve this is to use carbon paper and a typewriter. So the carbon paper allows you to make a copy from using a typewriter, and you simply place the carbon paper face down upon a sheet of ordinary paper, the shiny side down, that is the shiny side is the side which has the black carbon attached to it. You side that face down, you place another piece of paper on top, and when you type on this piece of paper, then it will the pressure of the letter of the typewriter hitting this paper will not only deposit from the ink ribbon the letter on the front piece of paper, it will punch through and leave, well, the pressure will go through, hopefully it won't punch through the paper, but the pressure will go through this paper, press on the carbon paper, which will leave an imprint behind. Now the weakness of this is that you can see the letters on the carbon paper, which introduces the possibility that this may be intercepted, so it's necessary to destroy this piece of paper, this carbon paper, when it's been used. Okay, so here I've set up the typewriter with the carbon paper and 2 sheets of paper in it, which will make an identical copy of what I type, so there will only be 2 copies in existence once I have destroyed the carbon paper sheet afterwards. On some typewriters, for instance the IBM Selectric typewriters, you can read from the ribbon what has been typed, so it would be necessary in those cases to destroy the typewriter ribbon as well. And then once you get that level of complexity, it probably is safe enough to use a computer, but this is more practical and fun. So the first thing to do is to give this set of random letters a serial number so that we'll know which one to use for the message. So we'll type serial and this will be number 001, and this typewriter uses letter L for 1. Okay, so now we advance the line, reset the typewriter, and we can start generating our random letters. And for this we simply take a letter out of the bag, put it back, strike letter. This one is S, the next one is Y, the next one is R. Shake it up good and proper each time. The next one is K. I know we've done 4 now, so we'll leave a space, double space, between each set of 4 so that it is easy to count along and you won't lose your place so easily. So the next letter is G. The next is F. Make sure it's taken up properly each time. Next is W. Next one is G again. So now what you do is you laboriously keep doing this until you've generated enough random letters for your purposes, remembering that you need to have random letters, a random key stream the same length as your messages, and one new one for each message. Which means you need a lot, and this manual method takes a long time, but then again it doesn't need a computer. So now I will continue entering in random letters until I have enough for an example. Okay, so here we have a set of random letters which have been generated using the typewriter and the Scrabble bag, and you can see that we have an identical copy made using the carbon paper. So we have 2 sets, and we have the carbon paper which we have to dispose of securely because it contains the imprints of the letters. And now our problem is to keep hold of the original and distribute the copy to the recipient without it falling into the hands or being copied or intercepted in some way by a third party, for instance the enemy. So that is a non-trivial task. It's not easy to do, but let's imagine that we have done it and it has been safely communicated. Okay, so now we face the task of encoding a message. So for this example we will send a short message just as an example, and our message will be attack. at dawn, which is a fairly standard type of test message that you will see. And we write the first few letters of our random set above the P. Now, we turn the plain text into the ciphertext using the key in exactly the same way as we did using the Visionaire cipher. We can do this using the tabular rector, which is the simple way, or we could use so-called modular arithmetic or clock arithmetic, which achieves the same end but without the need to carry around this set of squares. So clock arithmetic or modular arithmetic, we set the numbers to the letters thus, so A gives you 0, B gives you 1, C gives you 2, and so on. Z gives you 26. And how you encode the message is that you simply add the letters of your plain text to the letters of your message. So for instance, in this case, you are adding A, which equals 0, 0 to S, which equals 19. So 19 add 0 equals 19, and letter number 19 is S. So the letter which is becomes the ciphertext is S. The next one is T, and the ciphertext is Y. So that's Y equals 25, and T equals 20. So that should equal 45, but because we're using modular arithmetic, when we get to Z, we start again at A as 27, B as 28, and so on. So what we have now is letter number 19. In this case, which is you're continuing on from A, and that gives you the letter R. When you get to receive the message, you simply do the same thing in reverse. Instead of adding the plain text to the key, you subtract the key from the plain text, from the ciphertext rather. And in this case, when you get a minus number, you start again at Z and then read back up the alphabet until you find the one that you want. Now this can be confusing at first, that is why I stay with the tabular rector now. So ciphertext, our key is our main letter is A and our key letter is S, so we go from A to the S. So A encodes out S. Next letter is T, and our cipher letter is Y, so we find T and we go to Y, and that's R. The next is T again, and the key letter is R this time, so we go T to R, which is K. In this case, K, A is the cipher and K, so that's K again. C is the next letter, and the cipher letter is G, so C to G is I. Now A to W, it's W, sorry. K to T, that's K. K to T, D. Now A to W, W. G to T, T, is Z, D to I, D, I to L, A to Y, sorry, Y, W, S, W, S, W at the top, S up the side, O, and N to P, so N, P, C. That gives us our ciphertext. What we do is remove the spaces, and this is what we're going to send to our recipient. And because we're confident this is a secure code, it doesn't matter who we send it, we get things such as number stations in real life, which are just shortwave stations that broadcast numbers or letters, and these are thought to be one-time pad communications. So for the message, we'll set it out and broadcast the message. And we use serial number 001 for this, so we'll start the message with 0001 to begin with, to tell our recipient which set to use, and we'll start the message again in the 4-letter groups. So it's S, R, K, K, I, D, W, Z, L, Y, O, C. And we broadcast this to the recipient. Okay, so now I am the recipient and I have received the letter or the message, and this is it. So it says to use code 01, so I get 001, and what I do is exactly the same process as previously. So I set this up, and I write the letters of the random key string above the message, so that's, and I do what I did to encode it in reverse. So if I was using the arithmetic method, modular arithmetic, I would, in modular 26, I would, instead of adding the numbers for each letter together, I would subtract the key from the from the text to receive the plain text. Because I'm using the tabular vector, I will do that process in reverse. So our key is S, so we find the S row. Our letter is S, so we find S, and that means the first letter of the ciphertext is A. Our next is Y, and the cipher letter is R, so we find the R, and we read that up, and that's T. The next cipher letter is R, and the next code letter is K, so we go to the R row, we find the K, we read that, that's another T. Our next cipher key letter is K, so we find K, and we read K of K, so that's another A. Our next key letter is G, so we find the G, and we find the I, so that's C. Our next key letter is T, so we find the T. Letter is D, so we find the D. We read that up to K. Like a tack. So the next one is a W. The next key letter is W. The next message letter is W. We read it off as A. Tack A. So tack. So we do the first word. The next key letter is G. Find G. Find the Z. T, attack at. The next key letter is I. We find the I row, and we find the L in the I row, which gives us D, attacked. The next is Y, YY means it's an A, attacked. The next key letter is S, O. Go to the S row, find the O, read up, W, attack at door, C, P, and the P, C, N, attack dawn. We have sent our secure message. And of course, now that we have used those 3 groups of 4, we must never use them again, otherwise our code will be insecure. So that is how you send an unbreakable code message to your recipient in a highly time-consuming and impractical way.